Alright, so we're going to be doing some exploration today. Let's see if we ended up getting past this stage. It's been a while. See if we can get through it or not. Looks like we can. I always find it fascinating when, oh yes, like you're against 16, right? Oh no, right? But more or less, something that I thought I'd kind of discuss today, right? Is now we've got state of power. Of course, every phase is going to have, a set of rules, right? Basic construction, basic skills up, beast slay, hero development, and then you have power boost. If you've been saving, like I've been telling you to, you should have enough of all of these items now to be able to, basically, you're just going to rinse, repeat, and to go through all of these without a whole lot of trouble, and that's really kind of the idea behind SVS, really, is you want to be the top state against the opposing state. You might be wondering, who are you up against? How's that going? Well, so right now we've got 449 is who we're up against. So Core's doing really well. My Lance is like at 13. So we're participating, but we're not like we're not like Core where they're trying to be number one. But for the people that are just curious, though, right? On a day-to-day basis, obviously, Flaming Thing is going around. Yeah, make sure you do your Flaming Thing. So again, if you ain't doing your Flaming Thing, you are missing out on Fire Crystals. And if you're missing out on Fire Crystals, you are doing something wrong. Because it is good stuff, man. It's good loot. I will say, though, for, the lack of what I would describe as, I don't know. You obviously want to grab your 120 stam every day, right? But if you stacked up on stam like I have, I've got 305 stamina because I've been saving it well. Now, of course, I do have enough to do an upgrade just once on my Lancer gears. I might do that, but as you might imagine, Lunar Amber and having going past into legendary gear is kind of going to be a challenge, right? Because outside of Foundry Shot, Mercenary Prestige, Alliance Championship, and Crazy Joe, you're really not going to have a whole lot of ways to get there without really spending a lot. And so a lot of the times people will jump from here and they'll keep going past legendary gear, but I'm of the opinion that you probably, if you haven't already, get your charms up to level 5 or 6. Don't worry, if you've gotten to Mythic T2, don't go past just yet. I think you honestly will find yourself thanking me later if you go down your charms and actually bring your charms up to 6 or 7 than you do going down the legendary path, because it just gets more and more expensive. Of course, you can also just as easily work on your actual hero gear, and so you can do some Mastery Forge and go ahead and Mastery Forge your gear, but again, you want to save this stuff because you want to make sure you're doing it during the event, especially during SVS, right? Because again, you're ultimately trying to maximize all of your bonuses. You're trying to minimize any waste, if any, that you can produce. So your main goal here is to try and get ahead. I really don't think there's a whole lot more advice I can give you on that front, right? I might have noticed the Advanced Crystal Sale Pack came for $20, 160 and 4 crystal chests. I still don't like it, and the percentage is kind of indicative of this. I don't like it enough for $20, and I'm not going to buy it. There are very few times where I actually think those packs are worth it, and I really, honestly, I just don't like them. If anything, you really want to be more picky. Then you want to be, picking up things on the spontaneity of things where it triggers. Unless you're just trying to rush and get there day one, you really shouldn't, because it's not going to fit your pocket real well in this game. You're going to be on the struggle bus, man. It's really it's a cesspit. Let me put it that way. You can easily spend a lot of money on this game. And I mean a lot of money. We're not talking like a few $100s either. We're talking thousands. This is... if a casino paid you, at least the casino paid you. This one doesn't even do that. So for that reason, I always stress a lot of caution. Whenever people are like, oh yes, I'm going to go do this and do that. Well, just be mindful of what you're getting yourself into. It's one of those things that, you gotta be thoughtful, and you need to be cutting corners, in a way, if you're going to do well in this game. Because a lot of the super pay-to-wins that I've run into, they themselves are, in many ways, even now, my stash of fire crystals, I am running out so fast, and I know that eventually that will be empty. And I'm not even fire crystal 5 yet. And the funny part is you would think, oh, it stops there. It goes to 5. No, it keeps going. Just when you thought that you were getting ahead of the curve, is nah, man. No, it just keeps going, man. It eventually goes on and on. And so in a way, you have to be mindful of this. Yeah, all you really want to pay attention to, if anything, is just how are you faring among the people around you.
Burning teeth.
Like, so if I look at like my might and power, I can very quickly indicate, looking at this, how well I'm doing in relation to everybody in the state. And I know it's just a given, right? If I look at like chief gear power, I don't have to see people's gear. But I mean, obviously during SBS, you want to hide your gear. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you don't want to show people your gear. That would be bad. You can. Nobody's saying you can't. It's just not advised. Because, you know, the more your state knows about you, the worse it's going to be for you. But you know, to be honest with you, you get somebody like Takeshi, who's 1.3 billion powered, it's like, I don't know if it really matters. When you're that big, you know, it's like, heck, even some of our biggest players are 159 mil, 229, you know, it's like, yeah, here I am, you know, I'm only 196. I don't feel special at all. I'm only like 200 mil, and I just look at everyone around me, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's easy to get squished, you know, but of course, these little mission messages come up from time to time. People always wonder, like, well, how do I answer these? Literally, there's only one right answer, and there's literally nothing you can do for the people in the town. So when they're complaining, and because they like to complain, honest to God, that is literally, the suggestion box is exactly that. It's a complaint box for your little pilgrims that you don't even care about. It's like The Sims, but it's worse, because you don't even talk to these people. You just look at them and you go, huh, look at that, my little peons are pissed off. What are the odds? What another day in paradise. You know, it's like, you've only made 4.6 million food. How is that any different than before? You guys have still got more food than most places in the world. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, and it's one of those things that I find it comical, because it made sense in the beginning of the game, but the longer it goes on, you're like, Jesus, guys, you would think that if you were having a hard time before, it's kind of odd that you guys now have a problem now. Like, what's the deal here? You know, but all the same, guys, I don't know. As far as fruitful advice goes, right? The only other thing is I'm almost at VIP 12 now, all right? And I've been kind of like getting there progressively, but as you can tell, I only need 720,000 gems. So I'm saving up my gems, and I'm trying to get to VIP 12 so that I can finally get Geronimo. But the funny thing is that by the time I get Geronimo,
you do
by Gen 4 and Gen 5,
my technique,
pretty soon Geronimo's not going to be very valuable anymore. And so then the question becomes, is it really even worth getting Geronimo when you're at Gen 5 and Gen 6? And it's like, for most people, I'd say probably not. And so that's, you know, it's kind of the threshold that you find yourself in. You know, even though I'm in Gen 3 right now, I'm not stressing too much on trying to upgrade the heroes themselves. I'm actually stressing more the hero gear. Because again, this is stuff that you can take with you to the next set of heroes, and you can just keep progressively going forward. Now, you might notice this option called Reforge, and you might be wondering what Reforge and Mastery Reforge is, and it's rather literal. It literally takes whatever you've spent on, say, a set of gear, and you can reforge it and basically get your item and stuff back. So like this, we'll go ahead and do it just for fun to show you how it works. You can even go to Mastery Reforge and go back and, you know, undo it, basically, and get some of your Mastery Forgery items back, right? That's what the Reforge tab is. And then from here, you can actually go up and you can do your enhancements. So like here, I'll just go ahead and bring it up to 98. I'm almost at 100 on a full set now. But, I mean, you kind of get the gist. You know, that's one of the things that's kind of nice as far as the feature update goes. At least now, I did have some people ask me, like, how old is your state? How long have you been playing? And I can tell you, I've been playing since October of last year. So that's, you know, 2023. So it's been a couple of months. If you want, like, a specific date, it's exactly 174 days. So that kind of gives you an idea of just, like, how many days I've been playing this game non-stop. But needless to say, like, that is kind of what you have to kind of anticipate, is that as the game goes longer, it's going to incrementally become more and more expensive and more difficult. And so if you want to keep up with the players, then you're going to find yourself in a losing position. You just have to really spend your time, know what you got to do, advance on the things you can do, and that's really all you can do, really. I will say, though, that for all, all intensive purposes, we have Lucky Will coming up. So if you haven't already gotten some Mia shards, and now will be the time to come up. We'll have Crazy Joe come up here pretty soon, and I'll maybe give you guys a kind of a tutorial on that. But as far as Bear and Crazy Joe, I guess if people want to know more about this or would like some suggestions, I'll be happy to give you a couple. But the basic gist, right, with Bear is you want to increase your attack stat. So you want to basically focus on, and then this is something I thought was kind of interesting, right? You might think like using Natalia is a good idea because she's going to increase your rally lethality. The problem with using her is actually the fact she's only got 200% attack compared to like if you were to use Flint, it's 40%. This is always going to triumph, even though that 15% and rally lethality is super helpful because you're losing 40% attack. Even though it does work like a multiplier, you're still going to need more and more.
Technique,
so in a way, if you get Geronimo and you get that 15% rally troop attack, use Mia and you get another 15% coming off of her, and then you use somebody like Alonzo who's going to give you that lethality bonus, you're going to find that you're actually going to do really well in Bear. As I get to newer gen heroes, I'll probably start picking newer, basically in alignment of basically trying to improve attack. The only thing I can tell you as far as Bear is concerned is you're basically playing on 3 stats. You have to increase the amount of attack you're doing, the amount of lethality you're doing, and simultaneously you've got to work on your health and your HP on your infantry. So in a way, you're basically trying to buff the marksmen, the lancers, and the infantry, while also simultaneously trying to keep the infantry aligned long enough to do all that damage and DPS that you're doing. And I would assume, just like how it is in like PvP battles, the one thing you'll notice is that the lancers are the last ones to drop. Marksmen and infantry are the ones that drop during a battle, so thus I would assume that in Bear it's going to be the same way. So in a way, you would almost makes more sense to like increase the imp HP in defense and the marksman HP in defense, and increase the lancer DPS and the marksman DPS and the infantry DPS. It wouldn't hurt to help add to it, but it's probably not as big of a focus because they're really just meat shields in a sense, right? But that's for Bear. Now for Crazy Joe, I mean, that's a whole different animal. We'll kind of get into that. I mean, there's guides obviously on the Whiteout Survival Discord that you can look at. So if that's something that interests you, I really do recommend checking those out because they'll very intricately explain this better than I can. But, again, I think I'll make a guide on it, but I'm going to do it in the way that I do things and really kind of show you how I've been doing things and how we've been doing it. And again, I'm not in a super pay-to-win guild. I mean, these guys have been playing the game just as long as I have in the state, and as you can tell, they're just casually enjoying and playing the game. You don't have to spend. That's the biggest thing. I notice a lot of people feel like they do, but you really don't have to. Like, you can just enjoy this game. But needless to say, I hope some of what I had to say was helpful, but again, I'll go into more detail later on. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.